Good evening, students. So today's topic is all about functions and formulas in a spreadsheet application. Now, already we actually did write some functions before, but here I will start off with a new functions as well as new formulas that we can create by using those functions. So if you have already created this spreadsheet application, so suppose I want to find the total mark. Now total marks is a sum of these subjects: English, Maths, Science and Computers. So how can we do it? Now this is very important, that this bar is what is known as your formula bar. Alright. So and if you click on this fx, that is called insert function. So if you can insert any kind of functions through this. So when you click on this, you will see that by default it will always show you this most recently used functions. So these are some of the most recently used functions. So one of them you can find it out like here, sum. So if you click on any one of these functions, you will get a definitions, a small definition over here. That's because we are doing it in this desktop version of the spreadsheet application of WBS. But if you suppose you want to do it in your phone, you may see a different interface. But this descriptions gives you an idea of what this function does. If, for example, sum, as it says, returns the sum of the numbers in the range of cells. So if you want to create on the sum, so you can just double click on this sum, all right, and you can see that it is written over there equal to sum. Now you want the numbers, right? So you can just click one by one like this in separate these numbers, right? Or one way to do it is that click on the first cell and you can drag it till this point. All right. So if you do it, say E5 to H5, that is E5 to H5. So it will take this one and then it will find the sum. So this one, it's done over here. So if I drag it, it finds out the sum. Now, next time what I want to do is that I want to calculate the average. If you want to calculate the average, you can do the same way. That is, you click on this fx and notice there is no average over here because that's not most recently used function. Now where do we find it? There are different categories that is there in this spreadsheet application. So if you click on this arrow bar over here, you'll see all means all the functions that is there. Now if you want to go for financial function, just click on this and you'll see all the financial related functions over here. You click any one of them, again you get a definition of this. Not only definition, it also tells you about the how many arguments are required, like values, dates, guess. In this case, now if anything is within the square brackets, that means it's optional, means you can either give or you don't give. Now you will be asking me, then where is the average? So some of the commonly used functions we know where it is. If you are expert in this spreadsheet application, you will be knowing every functions where it lies. But if you are not, then in for our syllabus we need to know few of the functions, and that is good enough. Like you can find it out in the most common one. For example, I want to find out the average. So what I do is that average is in this statistical. Can you see this average? Right. So you can actually type over here. If you don't remember, just type it over here and it will try to find it. But now I know that it is in statistical. So you can click on the average and you can see the same thing happens over here. So if I click on OK, can you see this average happens? And then again, what you want to do, you want to just select from here till this point, not the total. Click on this and there it is average. So this is one way of, means you can click on the fx and then add up your functions. Another way you can do the same thing, if you are expert in writing functions, then you just have to say equal to, like here typing, and then see a v e and it pops up for me. All right. So there is the average and it tells me again from which cell to which cell. So I'll just select again same way and you can do the same job for this. So here we have found out the average also. All right. Now suppose I want to decide on whether a student has passed or failed. Now that's a function that is related to some logical testing, means it is based on a condition. If the condition is true, then only I am going to make it pass. If not, then fail, right? So this is what you select the cell again. All right. For that, what you can do is that you can again go to this fx. All right. And here is one function that is called if, which is a very important function. Now this if has got three parts. One is the logical test, one is the value if true, and one is value if false. Now each one of these arguments you can see is that separated by a small comma, if you notice. Now what is the logical test? This logical test is where it checks whether the condition is, you will check for a condition. If the condition is true, what to do, you will write in this portion after the comma, and if the condition is false, you will write after this comma. Right. So let me show you. Now what I want to do right now, okay, so I want to do is that if the student, all right, like it's not a good way to do it though, if the student's average is greater than 40, greater than equal to 40, I want to declare the student pass. But this is not a good way to check for a student pass or fail. Why? Because a student's average may be very good, provided means he did very well in, let's say, these three subjects, but he did very poorly in this subject. But because he did very good in these subjects, his average maybe will be greater than 40. All right. So so that may not be the case, right? Like for example, like if you look at maybe these students, right, you see the what is the average here, 45, but if you look at it technically, he failed in this subject, right? But for now, what I want to do is that I just want to check for the average. If the average is greater than 40, I will declare him pass. If not, then fail. So I go to the if, right? So I've got this three portion. Can you see this? Again, logical test. Okay. Is any value or expression that can be evaluated as true or false? So what does it mean? So anything that is evaluated in true and false, you can put it over here. So what I want to check? Average. So select on this cell, it automatically takes. Can you see this? J5 should be greater than equal to 40, right? So if J5 is greater than equal to 40, value if true, right? So what I have to do is that I want to say pass, right? If not, if then it will be let's say fail. Okay, so if J5 is greater than 40, if that is true, then it will say pass. If it is false, it is going to say fail. So right now you see it's fail. Why? Because the average is less than 40. So if I drag it all the way around here, now you can see there are lots of pass, including this guys, right? Why? Sorry, this one, right? Why? Because the average is greater than 40. But as I told you, that's not a good way to do the function. So how can I modify this function so that it can work better for me? So now I will talk about one more function, right? Like if we come to this one, okay, so if let's say there is one function particularly, right, that you can find it in this logical statement, and that's called and it's a very important function again for a logical reasoning. Why? What it does is that it returns false if any one of the argument is false. It returns true only if all arguments are true, right? So what it means is that now if any one of the argument is false, it will return false. So this is just like an English statement we used to use. If I say give me a pen and give me a pencil, what does it mean? When will I be happy? When both you will be giving me both of them. If you don't give me both of them, then only I'm unhappy. But if you give both of them, then only I'm happy. But if you give me one, still I'm not happy because I use the statement and, right? And opposite to this kind of statement is something called or, right? What does an or mean? If I say give me a pen or give me a pencil, what does it mean? If you give me any one of them, I'll be happy, right? But if you do not give me any one of them, that means I'm not happy. So same way I can use this and right now, okay, for our reasoning. Why? Because I want that all the subject the student has to pass, means he has to pass in English, and he has to pass in maths, and he has to pass in science as well as in computer, then only. So how do I do it? So if I click on this formula again, all right, if you go to this one, let's click again over here. I can write the function over here, but you might be a bit confused, so let me click over here. So I'm back to that stage, remember? All right, so here what I will do is that I will use another function, that is your and. Fine. Okay, now and what did I say? This subject English, right? So it took the, so the value E5 is greater than equal to 40, comma, again this subject is also greater than equal to 40, comma, again this subject is also greater than equal to 40, comma, this subject is also greater than equal to 40, right? So if and means what, all of them has to be true, then only it will return true, right? So now because one of the condition is more than one actually is false, so that's why it's giving false. So if I give this one, now see this student has failed, of course this student has failed, right? But if I drag it down, now you will see some changes that is happening over there. Can you see a lot of student has failed right now? Why? Because like this student, though the average is 45.5, but still the average, the student is failed. Why? Because if you look at it, one of the subject he has failed because I use and all right. So in end what happened, e7 is should be greater than this one, also greater than this one, also greater than 40, right? But one of them is false, this one is false, right? The moment this one is false, it will return false. So false means what? It will come to fail. So that's how we can use this particular function. So now you can see that our formula became a bit complex over here by using if and. It will become more complex when we want to calculate other things, like for example I want to create a grading system. I will be doing it in the next video. So you can see how we can use these functions and means other combination of functions to create different formulas to solve our own problems that will be related to the spreadsheet application. So thank you.